Welcome back to the Back Porch View. We want to welcome you to the first episode of 2025, and we hope that you had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. As we go into this next episode, we'll continue the conversation on the family.
This week on the family, we want to talk about, there are different elements in the family because we have the children, the husband, the wife. So today we want to talk about how should a man act in his family? If we had to answer the question, what should a man do in his family, or what is the role of the man in the family, how would we answer that question? We might think about John Wayne. I think about the Duke, man, he's a real man, and those characters he played. We might think about some other person in history or something, but, what is the role of the man in the family? Traditional concepts of masculinity and femininity have been battered and ridiculed for years. Should a man stand when a woman enters a room? I have to admit, I don't do that. Will it please her by opening the door for her? I do that. Should he give up his seat on a crowded bus? I've done that. We've been traveling and rode on the subway in Washington, D.C., and I got up and offered a lady my seat. I found out that's, I think people up there think that is being weird when you get up and offer a lady your seat. Have all the rules changed? If so, who changed them, and when did they change? So, how should a man act in his family? Dr. Charles Wick at City University of New York studied more than 2,000 cultures that have existed in world history. He found only 55 where the roles of the man and the woman had been blurred, and none of those societies lasted more than a few years. Why do you think that is, Tyler? Why do you think in these cultures where the male role and the female role have been blurred, why do you think that culture didn't last?
I think because when we look back at, obviously when we look at these things, we need to look at them with the biblical worldview. And with that being said, when we look back, when God created Adam and Eve, he gave them two very specific roles. Adam's job was to lead his family. Eve's job was to be a help unto him, to be his helpmate. And so when those lines get blurred, I think you see that a lot of times that, where does the authority stem from? Not saying that a man should have dominant authority in culture. I think there's been a lot of leaders that have been successful leaders that were women in our culture and throughout history. You think of Joan of Arc, Catherine the Great, Queen Elizabeth, all great women who were leaders. But take the latter, for example, Queen Elizabeth II. If you look back at her life, yes, she was the longest reigning monarch in Great Britain. But the man who stood beside her and she still went for guidance every day was Prince Philip. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when the reason that those cultures didn't make it is simply because when you don't follow God's plan and God's design, the train gets derailed.
Tyler, I agree 100%. I have a little saying that people in our church heard me say a lot, and it kind of deals with the family. Something with no head is dead, and something with two heads is a freak.
Yep.
So God intended for there to be a head, that's the man. But he intended for the woman to be there also. That's God's plan. That's God's design. You said something a moment ago, and I want to come back on it right quick. About when God made Adam and Eve, he said Eve was to be the helpmate. That's what the Bible says. But she was to be the helpmate, not necessarily in cooking, cleaning, washing, or even earning the living. She was to help Adam serve God. That was her role.
Right.
You remember back in the story of in the garden, it says that God gave them a task to dress and keep the garden. That was Adam's job. And so Eve's job was to help him do that. Adam was given the instructions from God, I believe, and they went whatever that task was. But she helped him serve God. And I'll say this: in all my years of pastoring, I've talked to a lot of couples, and they'll say they're having trouble. And I always ask the man this question: what is God's will for your life? What are you supposed to be doing to serve God? What's God told you to do? I've never gotten an answer. Then I always say to the man, well, how's she going to help you? Y'all got a mess. Because you're not doing your job. You're not serving God. Tyler, I think about our wives, Miss McKenzie and Miss Donna, and they're in a very important role. They support us and they help us to do the ministry God's called us to do.
And to talk about that, I think back on the night of my ordination. We joke about it all the time, but it's very true. The role of a man should be to lead his home, put the work forward to lead his home. Like you said, the woman's job is to be a help to him, to support him. And I think about that night, you said what you said about Miss McKenzie being, she was the brains to the operation, and how true of a statement that is, that she is the brains to the operation. But I feel like that should be every couple. Should have the brains and should have the brawn. 9 times out of 10, you'd probably agree with me, and several men in our church could probably agree. I know Mr. Ronnie would agree when I say that our wives are the brains behind our operation.
Yeah. we're the manual labor.
Yeah.
You know, having said all that, to a serious note, God never intended, and God never said that one is intellectually superior to the other.
No.
He said you're a team.
Right.
And the problem today in the home is that the man doesn't know his place.
Yeah.
You know, we talk, the wife should be in her place, and I agree. But the man should be in his place.
I remember hearing in when I was in school, Dr. Maldes was one of my biblical interpretation classes, very boring class. But he said something that I wrote down when we went through the book of Genesis. He said, when God made Eve, he took a rib from Adam. He said, men, don't ever think you're above your wife. And wives, don't ever think you're above your husband. When God took that rib out of Adam, he put it in the same place in Eve. I mean, when they made a decision, they made it together. They made it side by side. Not one over the other, not one under the other.
Well, let me ask you a question, Tyler. That brings up a great point. And you and I are married. I got a few more miles down the road than you do. But what do you do when you got to make a decision and it's 1-to-1? There is no unity. What's supposed to happen then?
I think then a lot of times it's good to go back, think about how you're wrong, she's right, and say, honey, I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm going to take a different road. I think then you know that it falls on the man to make the decision.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate your sentiment. You know the old joke. You can be right or you can be happy. Which one do you want to do? Well, sometimes serious decisions have to be made about the family and the family's business, and it's not just a matter of what color carpet we're going to put in the living room. There's serious decisions. There's a difference of opinion. You know, at some point a decision has to be made, and it falls on the husband to make that final decision. It falls on the wife to support that decision. And you know, we have a problem with that in society, but I think it goes back to this: the man is not in his place. He's not doing his job. The woman can't believe he's right because he can't lead. He's not leading their family. He's not a spiritual leader in their home. He's not participating in the actions of their church where he has an opportunity. He's not serving God in any way. He just comes, sits on the pew, and goes home. And so, you know, there's no confidence to know that I can trust my husband because he leads my family biblically. He does the job of the husband. He takes care of us and my children. So I can, even though I don't agree with him, I can trust him. And I think that's the problem we have in society. That's the problem we have in our churches and our homes in America. You know, a lot of wives look around and go, I can't trust him.
I think, too, if you talk about making those decisions, what do you do when you have that split decision? And obviously, I have not been married near as long as others have, but I will say that in those times that we've had to make decisions and we were split on what should we do, when we took time to step away and pray about it, we came back together, a lot of times we came up with the same decision.
That's right. So it happens. That's good. You know, as men in our homes, Tyler, and leaders in our church, but more importantly, leaders in our homes, you know, we should conduct ourselves in such a way that our wives can trust us. Mm-hmm. The decisions we make are the best decision at the time with the information we have. That they can trust us to not be foolish and do foolish things. And I think, as I said, I keep coming back to that same point here this afternoon that. I just really believe when we think about what a man should do in the home, he should be the person that the family can trust. He's not self-centered. He's centered on them. He's centered on his wife. He's centered on the children. He's centered on doing what needs to be done. And when we're talking about this, let me say this for my marriage. Certainly I've not had a perfect marriage, but I've been blessed with a good wife. You know, when our children were growing up, Donna made the decisions. They need to go to the doctor. They need shoes. They need a whipping. You know, she made most of those decisions, and I just supported her. I was gone all day. I was not there every day. If they needed something to be done with the children, I listened to her and sought her and followed her guidance. I remember one time one of our children was sick, and we got up in the middle of the night, put him in the car, and we raced to the emergency room. We were halfway there, and I looked over at her and I said, "What's wrong with him?" We'd already gotten up, got the kids in the car seats, rushed to St. Mary's Hospital. We're halfway there before I finally said, "What's wrong with him?" When she said we got to go to the hospital, I didn't ask another word. I said, "You know what? Right now she's in charge, and she needs to be in charge because she's the mother. She needs to tell everybody what to do, and I need to do it fast as I can. That's my role." We think about the roles in the home of being a very traditional man or whatever. There's sometimes back to my little joke, you don't need two heads. You need one head, and she needs to be the head. Because if she says we need to do it, we need to do it right now, fast as we can. Need to get done. Well, it's not a thing of who's in charge, who ain't in charge. What needs to be done right now? And a wise husband will listen to his wife's counsel.
That's right. And as we continue this conversation in the next couple episodes about a man and the family, we hope that you'll pick up on some of this maybe and think about men, where are you at in your family, and maybe also wives, where can you support your husband the best, and we'll continue these conversations as we go along. This has been the Back Porch View, brought to you by Appalachia Baptist Church, where the old rugged cross still makes a difference. Until next time, God bless and Jesus saves.
Everybody messed up, but me, I don't know what's wrong. Let's try it again. Here we go.